Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gayo Kodanitai Maya Poshashi, Kodanitai Maya Poshashi. Hariba, 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 Goda Hariba. Oh, Premanandi. Ishkan Gurvinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishi Kodanitai Maya Pashashi ki jai, Shitosinath Maharaj ki jai, Shri Giridhari Lal ki jai, Shri Nisingade Bhagavan ki jai. Namo Srimad Krishna Hare Krishna. So we've locked the gates. So now there's no escape for the last yatra, I'm afraid. You'll be here now forevermore. Unless you can climb. So we're reading from the Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. This is the condensed version, the condensed nectar version. Meanwhile, Swamiji, accompanied by half a dozen disciples, was walking the 8 blocks from the storefront. Brahmananda carried the harmonium and the Swami's drum. Kirtananda, who was now shaven-headed at Swamiji's request and dressed in loose, flowing canary yellow robes, created an extra sensation. Drivers pulled their cars over to have a look, their passengers leaning forward agape at the outrageous dress and shaved head. As the group passed the store, people inside would poke each other and indicate the spectacle. People came to the windows of the tenements, taking in the Swami and his group as if a parade were passing. The Puerto Rican tough guys, especially, couldn't restrain themselves from exaggerated reactions. "Hey, Buddha," they taunted. "Hey, you forgot to change your pajamas." They made shrill screams as if imitating Indian war whoops they had heard in Hollywood westerns. "Hey, Arabs," exclaimed one heckler, who began imitating what he thought was an Eastern dance. No one on the street knew anything about Krishna consciousness, not even the Hindu culture and customs. To them, the Swami's entourage was just a bunch of crazy hippies showing off. But they didn't know what to make of the Swami. He was different. Nevertheless, they were suspicious. Some, however, like Irving Halpern, a veteran Lower East Side resident, felt sympathetic towards the stranger, who was apparently a very dignified person on a peaceful mission. Irving Halpern. A lot of people had spectacularized notions of what a Swami was, as though they were going to suddenly see people lying on little mattresses made out of nails and all kinds of other absurd notions. Yet here came just a very graceful, peaceful, gentle, obviously well-meaning being into a lot of hostility. Hippies! That was somebody calling. What are they, communists? While the young taunted the middle-aged and elderly, shook their heads or stared, cold and uncomprehending. The way to the park was spotted with blasphemies, ribald jokes and tension, but no violence. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. This is chapter 3, entitled Yamaraj Instructs His Messengers, and it's text 17. So if you repeat after me, please. Tasyatma Tantrasya Hare Adishtitu. Tasyatma Tantrasya Hare Adishtitu. Parasya Maidipate Mahatmana. Parasya Maidipate Mahatmana. Prayena Duta Iha Vai Manoharash. Prayena Duta Iha Vai Manoharash. Charanti Tad Rupa Guna Swabhava. Charanti Tad Rupa Guna Swabhava. Tajyamatantrasya Hare Adishtitu. Parashamaya Dipate Mahatmana. Prayena Duta Hiha Vai Manoharash. Charanti Tad Rupa Guna Swabhavaha. Tajyatma Tantrasya Hare Adishtitu. Parashamaya Dipate. Prayena Duta Iha Vai Manoharash. Charanti Tad Rupa Guna Swabhavaha. Tajyatma Tantrasya Hare Adishtitu. Parashamaya Mahatmana. Tajyatma Tantrasya Hare Adishtitu. Parashamaya Diyapati Mahatmana. Manohara. Charanti Tad Rupa Guna Swabhava. Jatma Tantra Hare Radhishtitu. Mahatmana Arena Tutai Avai Manoharash Charanti Tadrupa Unusabha. Ladies, Tasha of him, Atmatantrasha, being self-sufficient, not dependent on any other person. Hare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adhishtitu, who is the master of everything. Parasha, the transcendence. Maya Adipate, the master of the illusory energy. Mahatmana, of the Supreme Soul. Prayena, almost. Duta, the order carriers. Iha, in this world. Vai, indeed. Manohara, pleasing in their dealings and bodily features. Charanti, they move. Tat, of him. Rupa, possessing the bodily features. Guna, the transcendental qualities. Swabhava, and nature. Translation: the Supreme Personality of God is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features, and similarly his order carriers, the Vaishnavas, who are very beautiful, possess bodily features, transcendental qualities, and a transcendental nature, almost like his. They always wander within this world with full independence. So responsibly pleased, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features, and similarly his order carriers, the Vaishnavas, who are very beautiful, possess bodily features, transcendental qualities, and a transcendental nature almost like his. They always wander within this world with full independence. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yamaraj was describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, but the order carriers of Yamaraj were very eager to know about the Vishnu Dutas, who had defeated them in their encounter with Ajamil. Yamaraj therefore stated that the Vishnudutas resemble the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their bodily features, transcendental qualities, and nature. In other words, the Vishnudutas, or Vaishnavas, are almost as qualified as the Supreme Lord. Yamaraj informed the Vishnudutas that the Yamadutas, that the Vishnudutas are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu. Since Vishnu is above Yamaraj, the Vishnudutas are above the Yamadutas. Persons protected by the Vishnudutas, therefore, cannot be touched by the Yamadutas. Omagana Tamaranda Shaganandana Shalakaya Shakshuran Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dati Swavadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhunichananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhattarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Panidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the Supreme Personality of God is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features, and similarly, his order carriers, the Vaishnavas, who are very beautiful, possess the same bodily features, qualities, nature, and they wander with full independence. So interesting that Srila Prabhupada says that the Vishnudutas are the same as the Vaishnavas. So that's what a real Vaishnava is, a Vishnuduta, an order carrier. And then Srila Prabhupada makes an interesting point in the purport. He says that they are no less, in other words, the Vishnudutas are almost as qualified as the Supreme Lord. They are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu. The Vishnudutas are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu, which is interesting, isn't it? This distinction between the Jiva and Vishnu Tattva is that Krishna or his direct expansions, they're fully independent, Swarat, and Abhigya, they're fully cognizant. It explains in the first text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, that's the distinguishing feature. We're conscious of what's going on in our particular jurisdiction, our field of activities, but we're not conscious of what's going on throughout the entire universe and all the other universes, and then into the spiritual world and all the spiritual planets. So that's the distinction. But the Jiva can be empowered to perform amazing activities on behalf of Krishna. Just like Lord Chaitanya came and he spread the chanting of Hare Krishna out even further, so Krishna can empower the Jiva to do wonderful things. But it's actually Krishna that's doing everything. So that's how powerful the Vaishnavas are. So then we have to become Vaishnavas. Well, personally anyway, you're already Vaishnavas. I have to become a Vaishnava. And then we have to become powerful so that we can have a powerful effect on what's happening in the planet right now. Always it's needed. Always seems even more so now than ever that we need more and more pure Vaishnavas walking the planet and having a powerful influence on what's going on and a powerful influence on people they come in contact with. And then Prabhupada makes a point toward the end of the purport that since Vishnu is above Yamaraj, the Vishnudutas are above the Yamadutas. So the Yamadutas may be thinking, maybe we're better serving Vishnu, because we serve Yamaraj, we get so much power. But if we serve Vishnu, we get even more power, we become even more well situated. And Lord Shiva, in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam, he advises the Pachetas, that you worship Lord Vishnu, and by doing that you'll be more dear to me than by worshipping me directly. And Yamaraj is making the same point here, actually, that by worshipping Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, then automatically all the demigods will be pleased with you, and then you'll become more powerful. So I don't know whether the Yamadutas carried on in their service or they blooped and joined the Hare Krishna movement. It doesn't say, but at least they were privy to some extra knowledge that they weren't aware of. So that's the nature of the mode of ignorance, isn't it? That we take what the world we're in as the all in all. And through the pages of the Bhagavatam and through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, we can become aware that there's a lot more going on than just what we're aware of. And then we can implement that information to our benefit. And by worshipping Vishnu, then we're above the Yamadutas. So the Yamadutas will have no problems with the Yamadutas if we're good devotees. Yamadutas don't come for good devotees or even bad devotees. Apichat Sudaracharo. A devotee is a work in progress sometimes, but in due course of time, everybody will reach the destination once they've embarked upon it. In fact, Srila Prabhupada makes a point in the first canto again of the Bhagavatam that when someone takes up devotional service, it's actually in the text, and then Srila Prabhupada expands upon it, that the sufferings of an orphaned child are different from the sufferings of a beloved child. So once you take up devotional service, if for whatever reason you become distracted along the way and you fall back into the hands of the material energy, you don't suffer in the same way as an orphaned child. You're directly under the vigilant guidance of the Father. He's keeping an eye on you, making arrangements to eventually bring you back into his custody, under his shelter again. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you. Yasuda. Are they a group of people? Other people?
Are they a group?
So you had the Vaishnavas, but the other group, was that a different group of people?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first bit.
Yasuda. I wasn't sure. How do you say it? The Yasudamas.
Oh, the Vishnu Dutas?
No, was there another group? Yamadutas.
Yamadutas, yeah.
Is that another group of people?
Yeah, the Yamadutas are they're directly servants of Duta is an order carrier, and Yama is the Lord of Death, Yamaraj. So he has his Yamadutas, and he sends them he says, go and get this one. Go and get that Ajamil, he's been really bad. So they went to get him, and they had a list of things. And they had a series of exercises they were going to take him through to reform him. And the Vishnu Dutas are the order carriers of Vishnu. So they came and they intercepted, and then a conversation took place. And they forced the Yamadutas to go away. And so they were a bit miffed. And it says in the previous text, actually, they would have been happy to have seen the Vishnu Dutas got punished for that, because they were a bit kind of slighted by the whole thing. So now Yamaraj is clarifying that the Vishnu Dutas are much more powerful than you are, because their boss, Vishnu, is much more powerful than I am. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Bolo.
Yeah, I probably don't need the mic. I've got a loud voice. Sorry? Okay, thank you. What I wanted to ask you, please, is, the Vishnu Duta, when they come and take devotees who are pious and done good activities,
Yeah.
and they've got the tulsi beads on their neck, and maybe they might not have a tilak at the time.
Yeah.
But they still got to go through their karma, isn't it? Even though I'm sure they've done some other bad things,
Well, karma, once you take up devotional service, you take shelter of a spiritual master, you take initiation, this offering of grains into the fire, the banana. This is all significant, that the karma is you're relieved of your karma, and there may be some token reaction that'll be given to you. Tatenu Kampamshi Shukshamana is a famous verse that whatever you suffer now, you suffer quite happily, knowing it's a token of what you were due, only a very small amount. And you wait for all that to be burnt off, and you know that in due course of time, you will be going back to Godhead. All you have to do is continue on in your devotional service, accept whatever good or bad comes, and in due course of time, the fruit will be there of love of God and pure devotional service. So, and Rupa Goswami, he warns in the Nectar of Instruction, Drastai Svabhava Janatya Vapasasta Doshana Prakutatami Havakti Janasya Bhajya, that don't see a devotee who has deformity or a disease or bad complexion. Don't look at that as some sinful reaction, but But bathe in the water of the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. In the same way, bathe in the association of the devotees without considering whether one's got a pimple on his nose, whether one looks really overweight, whether one seems really funky when he's in kirtan. Just engage in bathing in their association anyway, without considering the condition of the Ganges water, which may be full of bubbles, foam, or mud. So in the same way. For ourselves, we think, oh, I'm suffering some karma. But for other devotees, we think, oh, Krishna's putting him in this situation to teach us something, or whatever. It's a special relationship he has with Krishna. So we don't try to judge or analyze why the devotee is going through wherever he's going. Because we've seen in our movement some very elevated devotees, and then they've died prematurely. Jayananda had leukemia. And Srila Prabhupada said he actually went back to Godhead. So you could say, well, was that his karma he was suffering? Put him in that position to teach devotees how to be serious and fixed. Because Jayananda refused any type of painkiller. He was in a lot of pain, but he just chanted and just fixed his mind on Krishna and set a perfect example.
Left everything to Krishna's hands.
Yeah, completely. And I know devotees, right now there's Kadamba Maharaj. She's a very pure, elevated Vaishnava, and he's going through some difficulty now. So we wouldn't say that was karma. We could say that was taking on the karma of others, taking the responsibility for others. So we try to see it like that, not to see a devotee suffering due to some sinful activity, but it's his relationship with Krishna, and he's taken on that service. And he's playing that role and giving that example for the benefit of others.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah, when you're chanting, if you're chanting Namaparad, then there will still be karma. But if you're chanting Namabas, then you're freed of almost all karma. And then when you're chanting Shuddhana, then there's no karma anymore. Then it's just the pure holy name. So that's the 3 different stages of chanting. Okay, I'll ask a question. If I don't get a question, I ask a question. So how is it then? We're all here and we're devotees, and so we could consider ourselves, well, maybe we don't consider ourselves, but we consider everybody else as a Vishnu Duta. And it's described that the Vishnu Dutas are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu. So does that mean if I ask Gaura Narayan, he could start manifesting universes from the pore of his skin? Could you do that?
Hare Krishna. My understanding is like, it's not that I can make a universe, but I remember early days, someone gave me an example that if there is a fire and there is a tiny spoon, if you go next to the fire, the spoon will take the quality of the fire. And then you can't touch the spoon because it's fire. So similarly, because the Vaishnavas are very close to the Lord, so they take the qualities of Lord. So if Lord wants, he can manifest the universe for the devotees.
Yeah, that's a nice example. Thank you. That reminds me, actually, there was a story of Srila Prabhupada there as well. They were also waiting to go somewhere, and Srila Prabhupada came and the devotees. They said Srila Prabhupada was shining. He was just glowing, and they were just so amazed, and they all just fell down on the floor and they were paying their obeisances, and everybody was crying. And then when the devotees stood up, they looked at the businessmen, and some of the businessmen were crying as well. So that's the influence of the pure devotee, that you get a glimpse from seeing the pure devotee. You start to realize there must be a God. There must be a supreme controller. That faith just comes. It's just instilled in the heart. So even we don't directly preach to somebody, we practice Krishna consciousness very strictly, and we chant the holy name very purely. Then just by people being in our presence, then they experience some awakening of faith in God. It kind of happens on a kind of subliminal level. They're not consciously aware of how that's happening, because it's not a logical. It's not like you couldn't work out logically that there is a God. The material energy is too well designed to hide him, you see. But he can reveal himself whenever he wants. Tesham satata yuktanam, whenever he wants to, then he can Teshamana Evana Kampatam. He can give special mercy, and then he can enlighten, and then you just become aware. Yeah, there is a God actually. I just kind of know it. I don't know how I know it, but I just know it. Although it defies logic. But then pretty much everything we're looking at defies logic anyway. We're sitting here on a bowl of earth spinning in space with massive oceans on them that aren't swirling off into space. And we're putting little pods into the ground and they're popping up and purple things are coming out of them with nice fragrances. And it's just so amazing that everything's going on around us, actually. It defies logic. Our entire existence is illogical. The fact that we exist and we're sitting here now in Les Mahego, listening to the Bhagavatam, defies logic. So in the same way, why suddenly, if everything else defies logic, God has to suddenly be confined to being logical, when everything that's emanating from him isn't. So then the source of everything was certainly defied logic more than anything else. Achinta is inconceivable. It's inconceivable. And our conceptions are based upon what we've experienced so far, like the frog in the well. So therefore, he's trying to imagine the ocean in terms of how big the well is that he's experienced. And how well can you conceive of the ocean in terms of, relating to a bucket of water? It hasn't got those big waves on it. There's so many things the ocean does that you're not going to get from a bucket of water. You would never work it out. Oh, sorry.
Hare Krishna, Ravina, thank you for the class. Just in the translation, it says how the Vaishnavas, have transcendental qualities, and the last point is they always wander within this world with full independence. Could you expand on that last bit for me, please?
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada said old men and children can go wherever they want. He said, but don't try to imitate me. Well, like Narada Muni, he just pops up wherever he wants, and he's fully independent. He just goes according to the will of the Lord. He always turns up just at the right time, you see, because he's so in touch with the Super Soul. Super Soul says, you need to turn up now and tell Kamsa, so that we can speed up the process of Krishna coming or whatever, So he's always there. And we see in the pastimes with Srila Prabhupada, of all the places and of all the people, he would meet in Russia. He lands and he's just walking across some big square, and he bumps into somebody, and that person turns out to be like such an amazing devotee that does so much preaching and brings hundreds of thousands of people to Krishna consciousness, and he just bumps into him. So nothing happens by chance. Everything is being coordinated and synchronized by the Supreme. And so in that sense, we're independent. Wherever he needs us to go, we will go, And it's just a question of how aligned are we with acting as an instrument for the Lord. The more we're surrendered and compliant with what his will is, the more we'll find ourselves in situations where we're saying the right thing to the right person at the right time. And that's the wonderful benefit of doing Sankirtan. If you go out and do some book distribution, then you suddenly find yourself meeting these people. And the stories, I've had a few stories, but I know one in particular. Was a story of a devotee who was distributing books, and he's never ever said this before in his life. This was Mahatma Prabhu. He gives the lady a book, and he says, "This is a great book. It tells you that if you commit suicide, you become a ghost." She goes, "Okay, I'll buy the book." And then like 2 years later, she sees him at the Sunday feast, and she came up and said, "Thanks for saving my life." "What do you mean?" She said, "I was just about to commit suicide, and you gave me that book." She said, and it just hit me to the core. And I went back and I read it, and I thought, I'm not going to commit suicide. I want to come back as a ghost. So he's never said that before. He's never said it again. He just said it. So that's the wonderful thing. By doing Sankirtan, book distribution, you're elevated up onto the Majjhima platform. And then Krishna can use you, and you can identify, here's a devotee, here's a non-devotee, here's somebody who's envious, here's the hand of the Lord. Okay, and then you get used as an instrument to contact. And Krishna is so keen for people to come in contact with this knowledge, this information. And that's why we have so many books. and we there's plenty more book distribution that needs to go on. But it's getting there anyway. So yeah, we can experience that directly on Sankirtan. We can become part of the synchronizing feature of the Lord, and end up in the right place at the right time with the right person and say the right thing. Because the other side of Sankirtan is sometimes if you're not in such good consciousness, then you meet the wrong person at the wrong time and say the wrong thing. But then that's an incentive for you to become more absorbed in your sadhana and in your chanting, so that you can be used as a pure instrument. Yes, Raghunath Patel.
Hare Krishna. So this purport as well is a very good example of universal management system, how the Lord is empowering Vaishnavas and Vishnudutas with the similar powers like his. So it's not like holding all the power just in his hands, but actually because devotees are surrendered and humble, of course they have to have a qualification of humility. He shares those powers with the demigods for universal management, and for doing his work he empowers the Vaishnavas, because by Krishna's will everything is happening. It just would happen just by his desire, but he delegates his powers to the suitable people for managing universal affairs and transcendental affairs as well.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Because they made a film, and the person got to be God. I don't know whether it was for a week, and he was making a mess of everything. Everybody was winning the lottery. That was the first problem. So nobody was going to work. Nothing was getting done. All the bins were like overflowing. Why isn't the bin man? He won the lottery as well. Because anyone that asked anything, he was fulfilling it. So whatever they wanted, you know that one, yeah. He was like the new God, so he was going to do things really well, and everyone would get their prayers answered. So actually, God is very humble. He's very unassuming. He likes the jivas to take the credit. Okay, well, you go forward and you spread the movement. You go forward and you assist in this way. And like Raghunath Bhatta says, he could do everything himself, but then there'd be no fun. You see, Krishna has more fun because he gives up his godhead. He just likes to be a person. So you can go up to Krishna, you can wrestle him, and it can seem like you're stronger than him, because that's a more intimate exchange. Whereas in Vaikuntha, everyone knows Vishnu's the boss, and everyone is all in reverence, and is there anything you'd like me to do, your Lord? But because of that, there's a distance there, you see. There was a man, he was waiting to see the Prime Minister, and he waited for an hour, and he got so impatient, he pushed the door open, and the Prime Minister was on his hands and knees with his grandson on his back, and he was playing donkey. He was like, and the guy had been told, the Prime Minister can't speak to you, he's got a very important, he's very, very busy, but important engagement, you'll have to wait, But after an hour, that's Krishna likes to play. Although he's the Prime Minister, he doesn't like everyone giving him all the respect. He likes the intimate dealing. And then when the man came in, and the Prime Minister to put his grandson in, yes, what is it? And then be official again, Forget what you just saw. That was nothing. Yeah, okay, so what is it? We're at war with somebody, is it? Yeah, okay, let's deal with this. So that's him in his official role. That's God in his official role in Vaikuntha. But then in his intimate exchange, where everything is very sweet, Audarya, then there he's no longer acting in the capacity. And that's why he's running away from Mother Yashoda. He is actually scared he's going to get a beating. He's never seen Mother Yashoda lift a stick before, so that's a problem in itself. And she's coming for him with the stick. So he's crying, he's afraid. He's forgotten he's God, and he's in big trouble here. So he's trying to get away. And she can't catch him until he lets her catch him. But he has the prerogative of doing that, of relinquishing his godhead and just being a person. I mean, it's a bit unfair, isn't it? If everyone else can be a person, then why can't God? Surely he has the right more than anyone. to be a person and enjoy intimacy. If we were all like really official, right, and we had no friends and everybody was just, can I do something for you? Then we'd get bored with that after a while. Unless we were like a real narcissist, dictator, then we'd be okay with it. But generally, when people try to imitate God, they do a really bad job of it. That's what the material world does. Problem as well is that we have competition because everyone else is trying to be God. At least where God is only him trying to be God. Or not trying, he is God. But here, everyone's come down to try and be God along with everybody else. And we're trying to play this game. Look, I want to be, okay? I'm God, okay? You serve me, okay? No, I want to be God. You serve me. So that's the material world. Everyone's competing. I want to be the center of attention. And how long can you be the center of attention for? And the bad thing about being the center of attention is when everyone is looking at you, it lasts for a temporary amount of time, but then you grow old and then you're the center of attention and everyone's looking at you and then it's really bad, you know, it's like, oh, look at him, he's full of wrinkles, he can't stand up properly, he's gone fat. And then don't want to be the center of attention anymore. Go and look at somebody else. I want to hide now on an island somewhere. Just let me die quietly. So it's all very temporary, all very puny, all very pathetic, really. And better that we just realize that and engage as servants and see that Krishna is the supreme person. It's like really, really pathetic in Kali Yuga. I mean, you can be God just by kicking a ball over a grass field and getting it between two posts. That's all you need. Oh yeah, let me worship him, you know. There was one footballer, he kicked the ball and it hit the top of the goalpost thing and went straight up in the air. And the goalie was like, and the other guy was like, and the goalie was like this, you know, and the goalie, and he didn't even do anything. He missed the shot. It wasn't his tip, but he was like, and the ball went right up in the air and it came down and it hit a clump of turf that had been dug up, you know, and it hit the clump at an angle and it bounced off and went into the net, you know, and you hear the crowd going, oh, and there's the changes, and then the guy that's like that goes, and then he sees the ball going in the net, and then the goalie goes, and then the guy goes, and he's like, he immediately wants to take the credit, you know. So that's what it's like. Trying to be, it's so ridiculous now. Oh, so he's God, you know, for 30 seconds. And that's what's so pathetic, really. So temporary. And what is it really? He's only kicking one ball. Try kicking a universe around and getting that in the net. And that's what Mahavishnu is doing. All these universes are coming out and they're swirling around and he's controlling everything that's going on. That's real football. You know, then everyone should, all the dogs should be like, wow, and see all the balls coming out. Whoa, Hari ball. No one can match that. And so that's the wonderful thing, actually, about Bhagavatam, is the more we read about the Bhagavatam, we become more aware of how far out Krishna actually is, the amazing things that he can do. And then these little tiddly gods, they just become insignificant, you know. We're no longer enamored by some tiny display of mystic power. It's some kind of tiny mystic power, you know, to be able to kick a ball and make it go and then go in the net. You know, it's a certain amount of mystic power that's insignificant, very, very puny, really. So that's the standard. Bhagavatam is the standard. If you want to know who God is, this is who he is, this is what he does. And all throughout the Bhagavatam, you know, different demigods are being defeated. Shiva gets defeated, Brahma gets defeated, Indra gets defeated, Yamaraj gets defeated. It's all helping us to clearly understand, look, this is the hierarchy, this is the way things are set up. There's Shiva, there's Ganesh, there's Vishnu, and then there's Goloka Vrindavan, and there's Krishna, and this is the topmost. And then we go down through the stages, you know. So it helps put everything in perspective. So we get a very clear idea then. Nice to see you all. Hopefully you'll enjoy your stay while you're here, and there'll be plenty of prasadam for you. I just heard a story that Srila Prabhupada, he didn't know there was a devotee listening. Srila Prabhupada was talking to the deity. Srila Prabhupada said, how's the prasadam? And for 10 seconds you don't hear anything, and then Srila Prabhupada said something else. And then later on, Srila Prabhupada was speaking in class, and he goes, the deities are very satisfied. Prasadam is very nice. Thank you very much. You're doing everything very nicely. So, so that, that's the, if we please the Vaishnavas, if we serve you nicely and you're pleased, then Krishna is pleased. And then everyone's pleased. Hari Toshanam. When Hari is Toshanam, then what's the first part? Samsiddhya. Samsiddhya. Siddhya is perfection. Sam is all perfection. Samsiddhya Hari Toshanam. If Hari is Toshanam, then Samsiddhya, that's all perfection. Not if we please ourselves, not if we satisfy ourselves. We actually don't really know how to satisfy ourselves either. It's like we're like all severed hands, and we're trying to enjoy the sweet balls, and we're just like squidging them around and massaging the sweet balls, and all we have to do is take the sweet ball and give it to the mouth, and then the stomach gets it, and then the hand is satisfied. But if the hand says, no, I don't want to give it to the stomach, I want the sweet ball, I worked hard for this, I'm going to enjoy it myself. You can't really enjoy it. It's not designed to enjoy it. So when Krishna's satisfied, then we're satisfied. Jai. ISKCON Govinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Go Premanandi.
Krishna. Jai.
Go to Bhaktivinoda ki jai.